Just kind of setting up my different cameras. Okay. Hello, I am going live to just answer some questions. Kind of trying to beat the clock today. Hope you guys had a good week. Tyler and I went to Fogo de Chão yesterday. It was amazing. How are you guys doing? So I'm just hopping on here to answer any questions that you might have. I've been doing this for a couple months now. Just about 2 months, I think. And so every Monday at 10:15, I try to hop on here and answer any questions that you might have, whether that be regarding carnivore, keto, or just health in general, or life. I'm also a life coach. I'm also just interested to hear if you guys are experiencing progress or changes that you kind of want to just share with the group or mention. The first question is, does working out stall fat loss? No. If anything, I would think that it helps with fat loss. The only situation where working out could stall fat loss is if you're doing too much cardio. So our bodies are adaptive, and our bodies adapt to cardiovascular exercise very quickly. So someone might find that they're losing half a pound every month if they're going for a mile walk every day. Well, it's not going to stay that way. Your body is going to adapt, and you're going to have to keep doing more and more cardio. Hey, Carrie. So cardio is adaptive, and when you start to adapt to it and you need more and more, it can also raise your cortisol. So too much cardio can raise your cortisol. When that happens, that can stall your fat loss. Resistance training is where it's at. If you gain more muscle, just focus on gaining muscle, and you will naturally burn more calories, and you'll become a fat burning machine with more muscle on your body. Cardio is helpful, but I use it for the mental benefits. Honestly, I aim for 30 minutes of cardio per day. It looks like me going for walks, vacuuming, running errands, just 30 minutes. And that is enough to get the elevated brain-derived nootropic factor, which, aka BDNF, which is increased with cardio and exercise. And so if your goal is fat loss, I would really dial into nutrition. You cannot outrun a bad diet. So that's a long-winded answer to that's a good question. Someone just said the liver takes a while to heal. That's true. It can take a while to heal, for sure. I will say that when you stop eating carbs and you lower insulin overall, it actually happens pretty quickly. Something that some people will see on their weight loss journey is they pull down the processed sugar and the carbs, and so insulin gets lower, and they're able to oxidize fat, their own body fat, but they're not seeing the scale move for like weeks or even a month. Sometimes it's because the body is prioritizing what's most important. Sometimes people have fatty liver, so the body is dealing with internal fat, visceral fat, before it's tapping into the fat on like your thighs. So the liver will heal when you support it properly. I mean, that process will happen pretty quickly. I will say that lowering insulin and just supporting your body at a systemic level with proper nutrition is a million times better than taking a bunch of herbs and detox green smoothies and stuff like that. You're better off without the greens. You're better off. What's up, Charlotte? Good to see you here. Fasting helps. I definitely agree. Fasting can definitely help. Tammy said, I healed my fatty liver in 18 months. Thank you for sharing that. So I'd be interested to hear, if you're comfortable sharing, did your body weight change much in those 18 months? Or do you think that your body was prioritizing healing your fatty liver first? Because that's what I've seen in my personal experience working with others. The body really deals with the internal organs first because they're the most important. How to deal with plateau. I'd like to hear what your plateau is specifically. I can definitely say if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. So if you're hitting a plateau, I would definitely recommend working with a coach or getting, a second opinion. But I would be interested to hear what your plateau is about. Tammy said that she I believe you were meaning you lost 45 pounds during that time. So that's incredible. That's awesome. In 18 months. So she healed her fatty liver and lost 45 pounds during that time. Someone else says, I went from 235 to 181 in 5 weeks. I did 6-day water fasting with electrolytes. That's pretty extreme. That's really extreme. So fasting is one of those things where it depends on the individual. It depends on the season you're in. I've done a lot of fasting in my lifetime, but I will say that the most fit and shredded I've ever been, aside from being 69 pounds, I was 6% body fat at the beginning of my journey. But when I got healthy and then I leaned out, I was pretty shredded. I had six-pack abs. I was not fasting. I was just doing 16/8, so intermittent fasting, yes, but long-term fasting, that was like the longest I had gone without long-term fasting, extended fasting. So there's definitely a proper time and season, but that's incredible. Good for you. I hope that you were able to maintain that loss in a healthy way. Feel free to hop on YouTube and ask questions. I only have 3 people on YouTube right now, but I'll take questions from either. So speaking of fasting and weight, while I'm just waiting on more questions, I'm at a pretty high weight for myself right now. I'm like 140. Before I sat around 125 without trying. My body just naturally stayed there. And I think that my body is happy where it's at because I'm not trying to lose weight. I'm not trying to gain weight. I'm just focusing on being healthy and honoring my body. I'm feeling very strong, still hitting PRs, sleeping well, my energy is good. And so I just want to encourage you guys to focus on how you feel. Don't be attached to a number. My old regular weight where my body was comfortable staying was lower than where it seems to be comfortable right now, and I'm okay with that. I'm happy with it. Thoughts on GAPS versus Carnivore? Good question. They're very similar, honestly. Kelly Hogan did an interview with me. It was a 2-part interview. The first part was with the creator of the GAPS diet, and the second part was with me because I essentially healed with the GAPS diet. Very similar to it. So they are very similar, but she, I believe, introduces some vegetables. The thing is, I introduce some vegetables with mindfulness as the GAPS diet also does. Mindfulness of the anti-nutrients. So it's not all or nothing. Carnivore, I will definitely say, is more simple. So for someone who gets really overwhelmed with the details and just wants a really simple thing to stick to, I would say Carnivore all the way. GAPS, I believe in it, but it's a little bit more complex. And, I see people heal all the time without meat broth. I personally did it, but I work with people who don't do it and they still heal. So I don't think GAPS is like the only way to heal. And I don't think Carnivore is the only way to heal. I think they're both really awesome and very similar. The difference is mainly the vegetables, to my knowledge. Chapped lips and very dry skin. Been trying to keep up with electrolytes and everything. Not sure what else to try. I would definitely bump up your fat intake, for sure. If it's not electrolytes, it's going to be fat, and fat plays a big role into your hydration as well. When I eat really lean cuts day after day after day, I find that I need more electrolytes, or else I start getting chapped and dried out as well. How long does it take to heal type 1 diabetes on Carnivore? I'm hungry all the time without dairy. So it's interesting that you say without dairy. I think maybe dairy was scratching an itch for you, and now without it, you're going to experience more hunger. And I would honor that hunger. So your body, first of all, just might be finding a new normal without dairy. To heal type 1 diabetes, it really varies. There are some people who can come off of 85% of their insulin, and there are some people who come off of it completely. I will say that in my personal understanding, the younger you are, the more chance you have of getting off of the insulin completely. One of my friends and someone that I think many of us know is Amy. She's a type 1 diabetic and she's a carnivore. I wish I could remember her Instagram tag, but she's here on Instagram. It's AIMMEE, Amy. And she is very inspiring, and she posts daily, what she's eating, what her blood sugar did, if she needed insulin. Stephen Hussey is also really informative on type 1 diabetes, but to answer your question, it varies depending on the individual. I personally know you. I know that you're younger, and I have very strong hope that you can heal it completely. I think that you should give yourself at least a year of doing the right thing. Ike said tallow on lips, 100%. So I have some. This tallow balm. So the label is torn up because one of our dogs got into my office, but this is bison tallow, vitamin E, and sweet orange essential oil. That's it. And I put these in my bags at my retreat. They have different ones for fall and spring and winter and stuff like that. I use this stuff all the time. And it's just bison tallow. And I also use tallow on my face. So that's one of the best ways you can deal with chapped skin or lips. But I would definitely encourage you to address it at the root as well. Thank you, Suzanne. Suzanne said, you look so healthy and beautiful right now. I feel healthy, and I feel beautiful for the most part. I have a very embarrassing question about carnivore diet. Is it unhealthy to poop once every 7 days? There's no feeling of constipation, just zero waste material. So first of all, no apology. Poop is normal. Everyone poops. I'll start by saying on a carnivore diet, when you stop eating fiber, your colon, which is a muscle, learns to work in a new way. Some people get constipation, some people get diarrhea. Eating rendered fat, aka liquid melted fat, tends to give people diarrhea. If you're constipated, one, make sure you're getting enough electrolytes. Please make sure you're getting between 2 and 5 grams of sodium per day minimum. 2, make sure you're getting enough food overall. A lot of people switch to carnivore and undereat because steak is very satiating, and if you're coming from eating carbs to just steak, some people have crazy hunger and some people don't eat enough, and it's not on purpose. So you could be not using the bathroom because you're really just not eating enough in general. 3, make sure you're getting enough fat in your diet. If you're eating very lean, you might be a little constipated, but it's good to hear that you're not uncomfortable. My personal opinion is that I think it's healthy to have a bowel movement at least every 48 hours. And feel free to disagree with me. This is a personal opinion. So like, even when we do extended fasts and we're not eating at all, we should be using the restroom because our microbiome produces bacteria and we're supposed to expel that. I think we produce around 13 pounds of just gut bacteria in a month, which is crazy. I could be wrong on that, but I heard that once and I double checked it. I was like, wow. So I do think that you should be going to the bathroom regularly. If you're addressing your electrolytes, your fat, and eating overall enough, address your stress. If you're very stressed, that can constipate you. If you're not sleeping, that can constipate you. So I think all of those things are worth a try. I definitely would try to go more than every 7 days. Someone said it's once a day for me. I go daily, and man, there is not much else that I am intolerant to compared to constipation. I do not like being constipated. I'll never forget, I was a really young girl. My mom always tells me this story. We were at the beach and I was constipated and I was just so crabby. Like I was throwing a fit because I was constipated. And I've been that way my whole life. So I hope that you guys are going regularly and it's worth it to kind of fine tune and figure out what's going on there. What does your diet look like when you get sick? It's really very rare that I get sick, but my diet looks the same. I just, if I get a cold or a flu, I can think of one time that I got a bad cold and my sinus, I was so congested, I couldn't taste anything. So I just ate lamb leg steak. Just kept it simple. I obviously didn't focus on adding seasonings or anything like that. I just give myself rest. I try to sweat it out, keep my electrolytes up, and eat my protein. That's all I care about. I don't really change much. I don't think you need to change much. Your body needs rest. It just needs some time. Sometimes we have to realize the body doesn't want to bounce back in a blink of an eye. Sometimes it just needs rest. So I really do like sweating it out, though, in the sauna or a hot bath. Do you still use mouth tape? I thought about trying it. I do. I use mouth tape every single night. I have for over 5 years now. And it's so weird because I'm using the same blue roll of tape. I think there's something magical about this roll of tape because it's never ending. But I use tiny, tiny little strips because I'm not trying to pull my mouth open. It's just like a reminder. It's a mental reminder to keep my mouth shut, and it works. So it's like the painter's tape, the blue painter's tape. I do that every night. And actually yesterday, Tyler asked me if I could make sure that I'm picking it up because he's finding it all over the house. And it's because Moose, my puppy, likes to take it and chew on it and then spit it out somewhere random. So yeah, it kind of gets everywhere. When did you first go keto before carnivore, and was there a specific reason? Good question. So I grew up keto. I was paleo before keto. I went keto, I want to say 2010. Even before 2010, I went keto in high school, 7th grade, because I was diagnosed with severe mood disorders, OCD, ADHD, insomnia, narcolepsy, depression, anxiety, and they were very, very real. And I was taking medications, and I wanted to get off of them, especially the Adderall. I had lost my period at that time, I think because of stress. I definitely was not underweight in 7th grade. And so I knew the Adderall wasn't good for me. So I went keto to come down on the Adderall, and then I just went back to paleo for a couple years. Then in 2017, I went to strict keto because I was running into real bad suffocation attacks, anxiety attacks, and I wanted to get to the bottom of it, even if it killed me. So that's the first time that I ever tracked my macros. I did a 4-to-1 fat to protein ratio. I was having non-epileptic seizures. So 2017 is when I went hardcore keto, but I was keto for the most part growing up. Before I knew what keto was, my mom basically fed us keto. I was lucky if I got a sandwich with peanut butter. And I'm very appreciative of that. So I have a relative who is versed in keto. She does her own programs. She has a book, and she wishes to not be made known by me. So I'm not going to share her name or her information, but she influenced me greatly, and she was really one of the only people that stood by me when I was going through a lot of issues. So I've been keto more than I've been anything else, over 15 years if you put it all together. And then I went carnivore because I really had to remove the anti-nutrients, and keto had become like an idol in my life. It was all I knew. I was good at it, and it gave me a sense of control. And it had really helped me in the past with a lot of things. But when it came down to it, I had to surrender that because I was dealing with food addiction at this point, all the keto treats. I was very emaciated, 69 pounds, and I had to remove those anti-nutrients. It's incredible. It still blows my mind that I had 3 fecal transplants for this chronic C. diff infection. C. diff is a bad bacteria that takes over the good bacteria in your gut. I had already taken so many antibiotics. I took clonazepam, which is a benzopidine, for 13 years. My gut was destroyed. So C. diff took me down. And this is why I got down to 69 pounds. I did 13 rounds of antibiotics, 3 fecal transplants, and that was still seated in my gut. Nothing worked until I removed the anti-nutrients, and to this day I've never gotten the C. diff again. So you really got to focus on just the proper nutrition to support your gut so that I can be healed and sealed. Hard to rest with 5 kids. Yeah. I don't even know what to say to that. God bless you. I hope that God gives you strength. I think that's incredible. I would love to have 5 kids, 6 kids. I don't think I would want to have more than 8 kids. And I don't even have 1 kid, so we'll see where that goes. I will say, though, if you have 5 kids, it would be great if you had a scheduled rest day, even if it's just an afternoon where you get to go out by yourself and recharge. And then also your routines, you know, getting up before the kids are up, even if you just have 30 minutes before anyone is awake. That's how I recharge myself, is my alone time in the morning. All right. Any other questions? My husband is making food and it smells so good. Just waiting for more questions. Thank you very much. Can we talk faith, or is this a nutrition only? Yeah, let's talk faith. I would love to. I'm always up for talking about God and faith. You know, some people come to me and specifically tell me, I want your help with nutrition, but I don't want to talk about God. And it's interesting because those people are the ones who really need God. You know, we'll tackle everything else, but at the end of the day, what they need is to get spiritual and address belief systems and things like that. So I'm totally open to talking about faith. Feel free to ask. I started asking for peanuts in steakhouses to replace the bread. The lectins in the peanuts were very problematic for my gut health. Yeah, peanuts, unfortunately, can definitely give you some issues. I love the peanut butter collagen by Perfect Keto. It's just peanut butter powder made from like peanut flour, but they're removing the fat, and the fat is the problem with me. I don't want that type of fat. It's very inflammatory, so it gives you a really great peanut flavor. Prime Protein by Equip Foods, also they have a peanut butter flavor. It's beef protein isolate with a little bit of peanut flour. So if you're wanting like a peanut butter itch to scratch, I would definitely encourage you to try one of those. My discount code is tailored for both companies. That's what I do. But the peanuts themselves, yeah, I definitely would stay away from those. I started following you because you talk about faith. Hard to find that with other well-known carnivores. I appreciate that. That makes me happy. I don't care about how many followers I have. I just care that my followers want to hear what I have to say. And if I lose followers because I talk about God, I'm kind of happy about it, because I'm not here to like impress anyone. I'm just here to share for people who want to receive. Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. Okay. And okay. I got a vasectomy at 19, and my views on God and health changed. Interesting. I would like to hear how they changed. Now I want kids. Oh, I see. Now I want kids, and I wonder how to persevere after a bad choice. You know, just find the right person and let them know I regret making this decision and I would love to adopt. And so I know someone who was not told that the person they were dating had a vasectomy, and they were dating them for a while before they told them. Please don't do that. Just be forward, upfront if you start dating someone. And if you find a believer who loves you for who you are, you know, you guys can adopt. I had a miscarriage, and Tyler and I have had this conversation. Like, if for some reason we don't have kids together, we're going to adopt, or we'll just steal a child. Just kidding. He always says that, though. So, I mean, there are so many children who need parents. So, the good thing is, Ike, that God takes our mistakes and ugly or sad situations, and he turns it into something better than we could ever imagine. That's what he does. He redeems, and he will do that. So just ask God to bring the right person into your life, and let him take the reins. Were you always Christian, or did it happen later in life? I grew up in a Christian home, but I didn't surrender my life until May of 2019, when I surrendered the addiction and the need for control. I believe I had the Holy Spirit throughout high school, but I didn't have a dependence, and I was not fully surrendered. So my heart posture never changed until I was on my deathbed. And when I did surrender to Christ, I really got into affirmations and speaking them out loud and renewing my mind with the Word of God, which is what He calls us to do. This is a literal thing. We need to be in the Word. We need to be affirming the Word out loud with our mouths, speaking truth over ourselves. So powerful. And I never understood that until more recently, 2019. So my relationship with Christ is stronger than it's ever been because of how low of a valley that I got into. And He saw me in that place. God is so good like that. Yeah. Are lectins still in the flour? Lectins are still in peanut flour. Yes. So that's why, like with the prime protein or perfect keto, the cool thing is that it's mostly collagen or it's mostly beef protein isolate. Same with the chocolate prime protein. The amount of cocoa that they're putting in the whole bag is pretty minimal. So if you're using even 3 whole scoops of that protein powder, you're not going to even reach your 50 milligrams of oxalate. So that's the way that I think about things. It's not all or nothing. It's what is the effective dose and how close am I to that? What is a good amount of carbs for someone to have? 0, or what is a good amount for keto carnivore? It depends on the person. So I was close to 0 for 4 years while I was healing, but I also struggled with binge eating. I had food addiction, severe mood disorders, severe autoimmune issues. So 0 carb was really, really good for me. And I recently did a carb cycling experiment when I lifted on heavy days, and it went really well. But I'm back to pretty much 0 carb because it's more simple, and that's where I thrive. I just like it better. But now I'm at a place where I'm not afraid to eat carbs. I'm comfortable eating them. Tyler and I might start making our own sourdough bread, but it's not like, it doesn't have any pull on me like it used to, which is incredible. So it depends on the person. It depends on your mindset, your motive, your metabolic flexibility, your goals. I can't answer that question simply. I need to know so much more about you. Now, a good amount of carbs for keto is under 25 grams total per day, not net, total. A good amount for carnivore is 0. Peanut powder has less omega-6. Exactly. You're exactly right. I appreciate you too. One of the things you shared in the past still stuck with me, and that is asking God for more faith. Man, it's so cool that you mentioned that, Ike, because yesterday I was reminded of that. We have to ask God for faith. It's a gift from God. God gives us faith. Before we have faith, we have to receive His grace. So there's something that precedes faith that we are missing, and we have to ask Him for faith. And it's a beautiful thing because it's not something that you can just muster up. Your faith can be stirred by worship music or prayer or fellowship, and that's why it's so good to be in church and in the Word. But faith is a gift from God, so we need to be asking Him for it. Thank you for sharing that. How do you feed your dog's carnivore? We just give him, so I give my puppy, Moose, beef. I buy ground beef. It's dirt cheap at the local Spanish supermarket. I give him just little mounds of that, and then I give him eggs almost every day. Occasionally, he'll get sardines, excuse me, sardines or anchovies. I give him bone broth, and then I also give him bones. We eat the same. I'm gonna check YouTube. Does prime protein taste like meat? No, it tastes delicious. They have chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, peanut butter, and unflavored, and even the unflavored version doesn't taste like meat. I make carnivore crackers with the unflavored prime protein, and it's so good. You can add some herbs, you can add some garlic if you want, but even by itself, it just tastes like a cracker. It's delicious. Sorry, I have something in my throat. I still struggle with some binging on carnivore. It's minimal compared to how it was when I was eating carbs, but I was wondering if you have any suggestions. Yes. So I would definitely recommend looking at your fat to protein ratio, because if you're just, if you were told to just eat meat, that's not enough for a lot of people. So for leptin sensitivity, leptin is our satiety hormone. For that to kick in, we do need the right amount of fat to protein. There is a proper ratio. So I would focus on high fat cuts. Your body needs that fat. I would also focus on pulling out all the carbs so that it's insanely clear to your body that you're burning fat for fuel, and then make sure you're giving your body enough dietary fat so that it's in a supported place. And I would also say don't do fat bombs. Fat without protein is hyperpalatable, and that triggers binging for a lot of people. This is why people can eat 5 sticks of butter. Like, you should definitely be pairing your fat with protein. That combination of animal fat and animal protein is what restores and supports leptin, your satiety hormone. And then there's also emotional components to binging for a lot of us. So please be sure that you're addressing your emotional health, your stress levels, your behavioral health. I got my certifications in health and life coaching. The life coaching portion of it was extremely focused on behavioral health, because how you do one thing is how you do everything else. And I see this over and over and over. So definitely be addressing your behaviors. Something I did was always go for a walk after I eat, because I would have an impulse to binge and eat more. And going for a walk would allow me to take a breather, get outside into another environment, get away from my chest freezer, my kitchen, and ask myself, am I still really hungry? If I was, then eat again. But at least give yourself a little breather to see if it's real hunger. And it can take time. My weight shot all the way up from 69 pounds to 155 in a year. And then it came back down naturally without me doing anything to 125, without me consciously doing anything. I was just honoring my hunger. So that was my hunger hormones being restored, and my hormones themselves. So also give yourself time. You could be healing your thyroid. You might have nutrient deficiencies, and these things are not restored overnight. It takes time. So give yourself some grace and just stick to the 0 carb foods. Give yourself grace. When you eat bones, do you always eat the same animal bones, or do you eat a variety? Plus, how long do you cook them? And yes, God is good. Amen. I eat lamb, goat, and veal from Billy Doe Meats. The bones are delicious. I'm actually making shank today. If you look at my story later, I will post the shank bones. I will post myself eating them. They have marrow inside. They're amazing. I don't do bison bones because they're really hard, and I don't think I've ever successfully cooked a bison bone to where I could eat it. My friend Helen, she eats chicken necks, I believe. I just don't do chicken. I just don't do chicken anymore. I used to use chicken feet for broth, but now I do the goat, lamb, and veal. That's what I stick to, and the bones are so delicious. Bones are delicious if they came from healthy animals. They're not good if they came from unhealthy animals. You won't get a good broth. They won't taste good. You will get calcium, but you're not going to get as many nutrients. So Billy Doe Meats is where I get all of my meat that I eat the bones from. Just got a pressure cooker. Oh, and I pressure cook them for 4 hours on high. 3.5 hours usually will do it if you want to eat the bones, but I always go 4 just in case. Just got a pressure cooker, game changer. Dude, I can't believe you just got a pressure cooker. Lamb shanks are now even better, now that I can eat all the marrow and bone. Yes, I'm so excited for you. What are your thoughts on dairy and yogurt specifically? I love yogurt. I eat yogurt every day. I only eat Too Good yogurt. TWOGOOD. That's how it's spelled. I eat the plain Too Good yogurt every day. I put collagen in it from Equip Foods. Sometimes I put Prime Protein in it. It's just my treat. It's creamy and it's so easy to eat. It's filled with protein. I put it in my protein shakes. Now, most yogurt is too high in sugar and too high in carbs for my specific preferences, but the Too Good yogurt is awesome. Dairy in general is addictive. So dairy by nature acts on our opioid receptors, which is why it's hard to stop eating dairy. It makes it addictive. And it is also inflammatory by nature. If you want someone else to back me up on this, look up Dr. Ken Berry and see what he has to say about dairy. He says it really well. He says raw dairy is just less inflammatory. It's not anti-inflammatory. I personally feel the same way. So I do sometimes enjoy raw dairy from North Star Bison. I can't find any here where I live. I would have to drive over 3 hours to Wisconsin. So I just order it from North Star Bison. but I have that maybe once every 3 months. I'll make some carnivore nachos with jerky and some raw white cheddar or something like that. On a regular basis, I stick with yogurt, Greek yogurt, the Too Good yogurt. Just be really careful with the carbs and the sugar. That's really the key there. And then if you are hitting a plateau with weight loss, or if you're struggling with not feeling satiated, I would definitely recommend removing the dairy and seeing if that makes a difference, because it can suppress leptin. I'm bad at buying myself things. I just got lemon lime relight too. Woo! I'm drinking that too. It's really good. What's the best online place to get beef? Man, there are a lot of different places. What I would recommend for you is go on to eatwild.com. It's a website, www.eatwild.com. You can type in your zip code and it will give you a list of your local farms and butchers. And that's how I found Billy Doe Meats. And honestly, that would be the best in my opinion. I think North Star Bison and Billy Doe Meats are great. My friend Helen, she gets meat from Apsey Farms, and I've just heard a lot of good things about Apsey Farms. Her code is Helen for 10% off. So I honestly don't eat a lot of beef. We don't order beef online a lot. So those are the only suggestions that I have. I am kind of looking for like a company that I can get bulk beef from eventually, but that's just not where we're at right now. And I really love the goat and veal that I get from Billy Doe Meats. You are so welcome. How much water do you add when pressure cooking? I always fill up water so it's halfway covering the meat that's in the pressure cooker. The pressure cooker works with steam, so you don't want to submerge the meat ever. That's what crock pots need. But in the pressure cooker, just fill it up so it's halfway up covering whatever is in the pot. Oh, Helen says her discount code is Helen10 for Apsey Farms. Thank you, Helen. Here's some more questions on YouTube. Thank you guys. Do you think it's important to supplement with iodine? I very much do. Iodine and minerals in general are stripped from our soil and from our water, so I am always adding minerals and adding iodine every single day. So I use Aussie Trace Minerals. My discount code is Tailored10. And then for iodine, I use the Lugol's 2%. And I also use freeze-dried kelp from Grassland Nutrition. I have discount codes for Grassland Nutrition. I think it's Rebecca 10, but it's in my discounts tab on my website. That's another great source of iodine. Did you have a thyroid problem, and what is the best way to heal that? I'm getting absolutely no help from my doctor. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm surprised your doctor even gave you a full thyroid panel, if they did. I had hypothyroidism twice. Once was with the Hashimoto's autoimmune component. The first time I supplemented with selenium, zinc, and iodine and started eating way more. I wasn't even under eating at the time, but I needed to eat more. The second time, it was during this healing process after May of 2019 when I was going carnivore. I was just focusing on being consistent and it just went away. I will say that healing the thyroid typically takes a little bit longer than other things. Same with restoring your menstrual cycle. So there are just things that take a little bit longer, and I believe that the thyroid is one of them, kind of depending on how long you've been dealing with thyroid issues as well. So make sure that you're getting zinc, selenium, and iodine in your diet, and make sure that you're eating enough. Make sure you're eating enough fat. I work with people with hypothyroidism all the time. I would say a good 80% of my clients have had hypothyroidism, and we work through that together with 0 carbs. So just stick with it and make sure that you're eating enough. And if you're stuck, I would definitely consider getting a coach. Have you any advice about how to start cooking meats and making bone broth, equipment, techniques, cooking tiles? Yeah. So I do have a post on Instagram of the best bone broth tips. If you wouldn't mind sending me a message, say hi. I will remember your username and I can send you that post. It's on how to make the best broth. So if you're making it from bones, I would say to roast the bones at like 425 until they're golden and like almost browned. That's going to help to extract the nutrients. And then I would recommend adding apple cider vinegar to the water that you're cooking them in, only if you do not have histamine intolerance. You can skip it if you do. And then I would pressure cook it for 4 hours. And you can cook those bones until they're falling apart and edible. I will cook bones through and through. And then, you can make meat broth from things like pig ears. You can use chicken feet. And those are very loaded with collagen, gelatinous. And you can go back and air fry the pig ears and chicken feet, put some salt on them. They're delicious. So it's really not too complicated. I would definitely get a pressure cooker because that's going to reduce histamine. If you're trying to make broth, especially a broth that's like loaded with nutrients, it's going to take 12 to 24 hours to actually extract all those nutrients. A pressure cooker works in a quarter of the time. I would definitely invest in that. All right, so that's all the questions for now. It's almost 11 o'clock, so I might wrap up pretty soon. This was a really good one. Last week someone said that was juicy, and I really liked that. I hope this was a juicy session. Thank you for all of your questions. I will be back here next Monday at 10:15, hopefully with better lighting. 2 of my lights went out in here, don't know why. Yes, you're very welcome. Please just shoot me a message and I'll send you that post. Awesome. All right. Oh, here we go. What do you think about sweet potatoes? I love sweet potatoes, but they're very high in oxalate. So I would just, I don't eat whole sweet potatoes at a time. Right now I don't crave carbs, so I'm not eating them. I'm not buying them. I think they're delicious. And I think that if you are eating them in moderation and you're already in a good place, then good for you. I don't believe that sweet potatoes are bad because they're high oxalate or higher carb. I believe that you just have to be in the right season to tolerate them. And I think it's really important to be mindful about how much you're eating. Recovery tips for food reactions. Stop eating the food that you're reacting to. Give it time. If I had a food reaction, I would wait. I would just go back to whatever my baseline is where I know I'm safe, which for me was lamb, salt, and water. Just go back to your baseline for 14 days. And when you reintroduce something again, only do one at a time and wait. Give yourself time. That's the main thing. Like, I don't think taking a bunch of supplements and stuff is really necessary. Your body is going to heal and do what it needs to do if you just give it the time and space. If we were considering getting coaching from you, how do we go about that? Please shoot me a message with your email and I will email you the info. I have space for 2 clients right now, so please do shoot me your email. I'll email you the info. I offer a breakthrough call, so that's just, we hop on the phone and actually talk about, like, am I a good fit for you? Which option would be best for you? And we establish that, and then you make payment, and then we schedule our first call, and that's it. You are very welcome. Thank you guys so much for your questions. Awesome. Have a wonderful day. Bye.